welcome back to our channel. That Washington quarter in your pocket could be worth thousands. Rare errors and key dates make these coins super valuable. Like and subscribe to find out if you have a jackpot quarter. The year 1965 was marked by tension and transition across the United States. The nation stood in the throes of the Vietnam War, civil rights movements surged with unprecedented energy, and the American economy was under immense pressure from inflation and rising costs. Amidst this chaos, the United States Mint made a pivotal decision that would reshape the very makeup of the coins in American pockets. Silver, once the backbone of U.S. coinage, was being removed from dimes and quarters. The decision wasn't dramatic to the public, it was practical. Rising silver prices had made it economically unsustainable to continue minting coins with the precious metal. As a result, the 1965 quarter became the first regular-issue Washington quarter not to contain any silver. Officially, from that point on, all quarters were to be struck on copper-nickel-clad planchets. It was a clean transition, at least on paper. But transitions rarely go smoothly when dealing with billions of coins, thousands of dies, and a system stretched thin by pressure and urgency. Within this moment of transition, something unusual happened, something not discovered immediately, not even noticed for years. A coin, struck in the same design used since 1932, was minted with the wrong material. A 1965 quarter that should have been clad in copper-nickel was instead struck on a 90% silver planchet, the kind used for coins minted before the silver phase-out. The minting of a silver quarter with a 1965 date was not only unexpected, it was not supposed to be possible. Yet somehow, against protocol, against the momentum of a changing system, one of these anomalies survived the minting floor, slipped past inspection, and entered circulation. The discovery didn't happen overnight. In fact, it took years before someone noticed anything unusual. It wasn't a professional collector, nor a coin dealer with years of experience. It was a teenager named Joel Simmons, sorting through a small cardboard box of coins inherited from his grandfather's estate. Joel wasn't even a collector at the time. The box had been kept in the back of a closet for decades. He picked through the coins idly, admiring the older designs and the worn surfaces, unaware that one piece was about to change everything. At first, Joel was intrigued by the shine. Most 1965 quarters, clad in base metal, dull over time. But this one had a distinct brightness, a different tone, almost ghostly compared to the rest. Curious, he dropped it on a wooden desk. The sound it made, clear, ringing, more melodic than the others, caught his attention. It sounded like silver. He wasn't certain, but the pitch alone felt different. That single moment led him to investigate further. He took the coin to a local coin shop, expecting little more than a casual identification. The dealer listened to the coin's tone, examined its edge, and immediately reached for a scale that weighed 6.25 grams. The standard 1965 quarter, made of copper-nickel, should weigh around 5.67 grams. The extra weight was a red flag. The coin lacked the telltale copper core visible on the rim of clad quarters. Instead, it had the solid silver color from edge to edge. The dealer turned pale. He whispered something about a minting error, about a possibility too rare to believe. And then, realizing he had something historic in hand, he carefully returned the coin to Joel, refusing to make an offer and instead advising him to get it certified immediately. Certification confirmed the impossible. The quarter had indeed been struck on a silver planchet. Most likely, it was leftover from 1964 production and accidentally fed into the coin press meant for clad planchets. A technical glitch. A moment of oversight. Or perhaps a mint worker, unaware or careless, failed to catch the difference. Whatever the cause, it resulted in an error so scarce that even the most seasoned collectors had only heard rumors of its existence. For Joel, a high school student with no knowledge of numismatics, the coin became a doorway into a hidden world. Experts and appraisers took immediate interest. The coin's composition, weight, and appearance made it an authentic error of extraordinary rarity. Few 1965 quarters struck on silver planchets had ever been verified. Some suspected fewer than 2 dozen existed. And that rarity, coupled with the mystery surrounding their origin, sent the value of such coins climbing rapidly. The market response was cautious at first. A few early offers placed the coin around $5,000. But as news spread and more collectors became aware, the numbers shifted. One auction placed an identical error coin at nearly $25,000. Another fetched $38,000 after a heated bidding war between two anonymous collectors. Then, a breakthrough came when a coin nearly identical to Joel's, pristine in condition, silver through and through, perfectly struck, sold at a prominent numismatic auction for $64,000. The value curve had changed. These weren't just minting errors, they were historical fingerprints. Coins that weren't supposed to exist. And within that contradiction lay their allure. As time passed, more collectors began examining their 1965 quarters. Most were clad, as expected. But the hunt intensified. Stories emerged of others finding silver planchet errors, though rarely in good condition. Many had been spent countless times, worn down through decades of circulation, their unique composition obscured by age. The surviving uncirculated examples, coins that had never truly been used, were fewer still. Some speculated that as few as 5 were in near-mint state, possibly fewer. Joel's coin, remarkably, had avoided that fate. It had sat in a box for decades, untouched, shielded from damage. Its preservation made it not only rare, but desirable beyond measure. Collectors began scrutinizing the 1965 minting process. Theories emerged. Some believed the Philadelphia Mint, overwhelmed by demand and short on clad planchets during the transition, may have resorted briefly to using leftover silver stock without fully documenting the decision. Others suspected a simple error: a few silver planchets accidentally left in the hopper during a hectic production week. The official mint records remained silent. No public acknowledgement was ever made of the mistake. Which made each verified silver-struck 1965 quarter all the more enigmatic. And then came the twist. A private collector, known only by the initials W_T, revealed that he had discovered another 1965 quarter struck on a silver planchet, but this one bore signs of being struck at the Denver Mint. Officially, Denver had already stopped using silver by mid-1964. If true, it suggested that leftover silver planchets may have been stored or mistakenly used not only in Philadelphia but also in Denver, potentially months after the switchover. If errors had occurred at more than one mint facility, it cast doubt on the idea that these were isolated accidents. Some began to theorize a deeper story, one of rushed decisions, undocumented exceptions, or even deliberate trial runs under pressure to meet coinage deadlines. The coin community responded with a mix of excitement and skepticism. Grading authorities began re-evaluating the known 1965 silver errors, examining mint marks more closely, considering the implications of a multi-mint mistake. Yet, despite the mystery, one truth remained: the coins existed. Not many. Not easily found. But undeniably real. Joel's coin, authenticated and graded as MS-66, now sits within an elite tier of numismatic legend. It is no longer just a coin. It is a representation of a transition, a relic of human error, and a testament to the unpredictable nature of even the most controlled systems. Inquiries continue to roll in. Offers come and go. He's been contacted by private buyers from across the globe. One collector in Singapore offered 6 figures. Another from London promised a rare trade plus cash. Joel hasn't sold it. Today, a verified 1965 Washington quarter struck on a silver planchet can command anywhere from $55,000 to $140,000 depending on condition, documentation, and provenance. The exact number of surviving examples remains unknown. Some say a dozen. Others say far fewer. What is known is that these coins have transcended their original purpose. They are no longer simple instruments of commerce. They are stories in metal, silent, shining witnesses to a moment in history when even a small oversight became a legacy. In 1968, the United States stood in the midst of profound transformation. The space race was heating up, civil unrest echoed through city streets, and political turmoil left the nation uncertain of its future. Yet, in the quiet hum of the U.S. Mint, the work continued as always. Machines stamped metal into coins at breakneck speeds, feeding an economy that never paused. Amidst all the monumental changes gripping the country, something much smaller, but no less historic, was happening behind closed doors. It wasn't seen by presidents or politicians. It wasn't written into newspapers or spoken of on nightly news broadcasts. It was a mistake. A silent, metallic anomaly. And it would take decades for someone to find it. The 1968 Washington quarter was part of the first full year of production after a crucial transformation in American coinage. Just a few years earlier, the U.S. Mint had eliminated silver from circulating dimes and quarters. These coins, once built with intrinsic value, were now made of clad copper nickel. It was practical, economic, and efficient. Most coins followed the plan. Most. But not all. Somewhere in the stream of coin production, an unusual piece was born. A quarter that seemed ordinary on the surface, bearing George Washington's profile on the obverse, the standard eagle on the reverse, and the date 1968 clearly stamped beneath the bust. It bore the Denver Mint mark, a subtle D just to the right of the ribbon on Washington's ponytail. By all accounts, this coin should have matched millions of others in weight, design, and composition. But it didn't. For nearly 30 years, this coin passed silently from one hand to the next. It paid for soda, gum, parking meters, and vending machines. It lived its life in circulation, surviving scratches, friction, and time itself. Until one afternoon, deep in a quiet suburb of Wisconsin, it landed in the hands of a part-time numismatist named Trisha Mallerie. She wasn't an expert by trade, but her passion for coins ran deep. On weekends, she searched bank rolls for anomalies, hoping for rare mint marks, die cracks, or off-center strikes. It was a hobby passed down from her father, a tradition carried forward through quiet evenings at the kitchen table with a magnifying glass and a stack of loose change. That day, Trisha was sorting through a small batch of quarters picked up from her local credit union. Most were predictable. Dull. Worn. Ordinary. But then her fingers brushed one that felt different. The weight caught her attention. She held it up, letting the light hit its edge. There was no visible copper line, no trace of the sandwiching color typical of modern clad quarters. She tilted it again. Still nothing. Curious, she set it on a precise digital scale. It read 6.25 grams. Her brow furrowed. That was the standard weight for silver quarters last minted in 1964, not the clad ones produced in 1968, which should weigh 5.67 grams. Her heart began to race. Trisha didn't panic. She had encountered fakes before. But something about this coin didn't scream counterfeit. The strike was clean. The details were sharp. The reading along the edge was precise. The color, tone, and wear pattern all felt authentic. She took a silver test kit, one meant for jewelry, and applied a drop on the rim. The reaction was instant. The surface darkened in a way only silver does. She took a deep breath. Could it really be? With calm resolve, she mailed the coin to a professional grading service, requesting authentication and compositional analysis. It took weeks. Each day that passed stretched her anticipation tighter. Finally, the package returned, sealed and official. The label was simple but devastatingly conclusive: 1968 D quarter, struck on 90% silver planchet, MS62. It wasn't just an error, it was an impossibility. According to official mint records, there should not have been any silver planchets available in 1968. They had been removed from the system years earlier. This coin was not supposed to exist. Yet here it was. Silver, struck at the Denver Mint, dated 1968. Experts pored over the coin. Theories emerged. Some believed a leftover silver blank from 1964 had been trapped in storage, only to resurface and be accidentally used in the 1968 Denver production run. Others speculated that certain special issue coins, like proofs or presentation strikes, were still using silver planchets and one may have mistakenly slipped into general circulation. Regardless of how it happened, the result was a numismatic ghost, one that had somehow survived unnoticed in the wild for over 3 decades. Collectors began whispering about other possible silver-struck 1968 quarters. A few surfaced in online forums, none with the Denver mint mark, and none verified. Trisha's coin remained the only known certified example for months. Her inbox overflowed with offers. Dealers from New York to Tokyo sent messages. One offered $12,000 on the spot. Another, more aggressively, bid $25,000. But Trisha hesitated. The coin was not just a rare error. It was a personal discovery, the kind that only a few coin enthusiasts ever dream of. Selling it felt like giving away a piece of fate, but the value kept growing. As awareness spread, the story gained traction. Articles were written. Auction houses reached out. When the coin was finally placed on the block at a major numismatic convention in 2021, excitement buzzed through the room. The final bid shocked even seasoned dealers. $81,000 hammer price. A 1968 quarter, a coin meant to be ordinary, had shattered expectations. The sale sparked a renewed hunt for silver-struck 1968 quarters. People across the country began revisiting old coin jars, family collections, and estate sales. A few more surfaced, some too worn to authenticate, others heavily damaged. But one additional example, this time with a Philadelphia mint mark and weighing incorrectly at 6.25 grams, was authenticated later that same year. Its condition was poorer, but it still sold at auction $4.54,000. What set Trisha's coin apart wasn't just its error, it was its clarity. The details were crisp, the fields clean, the tone even. It looked, in many ways, like a time capsule. A perfect mistake, frozen at the moment of its birth, only to awaken decades later. It reminded collectors that the U.S. Mint, despite all its controls and precision, is still a human system. And in every human system, there is room for the unexpected. To this day, collectors check their 1968 quarters with more care. They examine the edges, feel the weight, tilt the coin under light. Most find nothing. But hope is persistent. And history has already proven that the impossible can sometimes find its way into the most ordinary of places. The current value of a verified 1968 silver-struck Washington quarter ranges between $50,000 and $125,000, depending on condition, provenance, and the clarity of its error. Fewer than 5 examples are known to exist. Each is a silent witness to an overlooked moment, a quiet deviation from the expected, and a powerful reminder that even in the most routine objects, there can be buried treasure.